The woke side of the internet thinks going through someone's old MySpace account makes them part of the resistance. It doesn't. It makes you a... Colonel Alexander Vindman exposing the Ukraine fiasco. Noble. That's not you taking down the host of the Ice Capades. You're a loser with Wi-Fi and all the time in the world to listen to long-forgotten podcasts. You're not a journalist. You're just a creepy little rat. Go to Texas and catch a runaway embryo.
Bill Maher continues his crusade against the so-called cult of wokeism. And this time he's stepping up the intensity. His newest focus is on the self-appointed moral enforcers who spend their days combing through old tweets like digital archaeologists, desperate to destroy someone's career over a questionable joke from 2012. Maher's takedown wasn't just biting, it was blistering. He exposed the hypocrisy, the phony outrage, and the sad satisfaction these tattlers get from public shaming. So, buckle up. This one's hotter than a cancel campaign gone off the rails.
A snitch? Now it's not a bad thing. Oh, it used to be. Used to be one of the first things we taught children. Nobody likes a tattletale. But now, virtually any public accomplishment comes with the obligatory follow-up snitch story a few days later. Like what happened with that sad schmuck who was supposed to host Jeopardy! But fortunately, the honor of game shows was preserved when Squeal Team 6 went through his old podcast and found out he once used the term whatever the that means.
I honestly don't know when this became a trend. When people who can't stand you suddenly decided to become full-time online detectives, digging through your past just to uncover an offensive tweet from 10 years ago. Somehow, this witch-hunting pastime has turned into a national sport, especially among the self-righteous woke crowd. It's no longer about justice or accountability. It's about humiliation, control, and showing off moral superiority. Now it's gotten so toxic that everyone's afraid to speak, walking on eggshells. Maher isn't having it. He calls it exactly what it is, pure hypocrisy disguised as moral virtue. And trust me, his take is going to burn. So sit back. Let's roll the clip and watch the sparks fly.
Mike, but we, the perfect people who have never made a mistake, we just can't let society be sullied by horrible people like you. Bye-bye. Fans of cable news will recognize the rising journalist Alexi McCammond, who was appointed editor of Teen Vogue, but then had to resign before her first day when some of her high school tweets suddenly became too much to bear. Tweets like, "Now Googling how to not wake up with swollen Asian eyes," and, "You're so gay."
Exactly. If you've ever seen the kind of harmless old tweets people get canceled over, you'd be shocked. We're talking about jokes, memes, or teenage nonsense that no reasonable person would ever take seriously. Yet somehow, the online mob twists them into evidence of deep moral failure. It's like they're constantly hunting for their next target, combing through digital history with virtual pitchforks in hand. They couldn't care less about context, intent, or time. They'll distort your words, twist your meaning, and rewrite your past just to satisfy their outrage. This isn't about accountability anymore. It's about destruction. The mob doesn't just want an apology. They want a trophy.
And her resignation was endorsed by the hierarchy of the magazine, including the senior social media manager, Christine Davitt. Oh no, you just ruined someone's career for no reason. Same diff. Funny end of the story, after Alexi McCammond resigned for her innocuous tweets, someone went through Christine Davitt's old high school tweets and, oops. Seems she tweeted the N-word twice to a white friend in 2009.
And that right there is the hypocrisy Bill Maher is calling out. These self-righteous internet sleuths, the ones who spend hours or even days digging through someone's old tweets, are often the biggest hypocrites of all. Why? Because they're guilty of the very same things they love to condemn. They've got their own skeletons buried deep in their timelines. Bad takes, offensive jokes, and cringeworthy opinions, all just waiting to resurface. But they rely on no one checking. Maher's point is brutally clear. If everyone were judged by their past, no one would survive. These digital moralists love to act like they're spotless while using everyone else's mistakes as weapons. And if the tables were ever turned on them, they'd fall apart in seconds.
Now, this is why I'm a little hopeful that this purity purge may end, because it's starting to eat its own. ESPN reporter Rachel Nichols was a feminist success story, but when she complained in a private telephone call about ESPN's crappy long-time record on diversity and expressed her view that she felt like she was being sacrificed by the network so they could make up for that crappy long-time record on diversity, the call was leaked and
Why won't they eventually turn on their own? It's only a matter of time. Everyone, at some point, has said or believed something completely ridiculous. It's just part of being human. You grow, you learn, and you leave those wild, immature opinions behind as life teaches you better. Maturity is supposed to bring wisdom, not shame. But the cancel mob doesn't care about growth. They feed on outrage. They act like moral saints, pretending they've never said the wrong thing or cracked a bad joke. The irony? If the same spotlight were ever turned on them, they'd be done for. Dig deep enough into anyone's past, and you'll find something offensive, something cancel-worthy. That's why this culture always ends up devouring itself, because when you demand perfection from everyone else, you eventually suffocate on your own hypocrisy.
in addition to the fact that a person shouldn't have to love getting fired, even if it does achieve more equity. This was a private call. Does private mean anything anymore? Apparently not. Even sadder, this love of snitching seems to be one of the few areas that is now truly bipartisan. Snitch Nation isn't about what side you're on. It's about this mindset where everyone is an amateur secret policeman and tattling is a virtue.
The former ESPN host situation is especially troubling because hers wasn't even a tweet. It was a private phone call. Something said in confidence, never intended for public ears. But apparently, in this new age of digital tattling, nothing is sacred anymore. Privacy has become a myth, replaced by an endless search for the next public spectacle. These people will record, leak, and weaponize anything if it earns them a few clicks or moral brownie points. It's not about justice. It's about exposure, humiliation, and the dopamine hit that comes from taking someone down. The frightening part is that no one is safe. If a private conversation can be turned into a public scandal, we've officially crossed the line from accountability to surveillance. And that's exactly the kind of insanity Maher has been warning about. A world where betrayal has become a virtue.
Side of the internet thinks going through someone's old MySpace account makes them part of the resistance. It doesn't. It makes you a...
There's absolutely nothing brave about ratting someone out. Honestly, it takes no courage to wreck a person's life from behind a keyboard. The far left likes to believe that by digging up old tweets or private remarks from people they dislike, they're waging some noble moral crusade. But they're not. They're indulging in an online bloodsport dressed up as virtue. Bill Maher calls it what it is. Pathetic. He sees these self-appointed moral cops for who they are. Resentful, insecure people who feel powerful only when they're tearing others down. Instead of creating anything of value, they spend their time scrolling through archives looking for fodder. Maher's message lands hard. If your only contribution to society is destroying reputations, you aren't a hero. You're a coward hiding behind a cloak of righteousness.
Republicans lately, besides sponsoring that new reality show, Texas Zygote Hunters, have been encouraging college students to whip out their phones to record and report professors who espouse leftist ideas. As always, these snowflakes fall just as hard on the right as they do on the left.
If the far right does the same thing, they deserve the same criticism. No exceptions. This isn't about left versus right. It's about basic fairness and the right to speak without fear of lifelong punishment. America should protect free speech, not weaponize it. No one, regardless of ideology, party, or personal belief, should lose their job, reputation, or future over something they said years ago. People grow and opinions shift. What mattered then shouldn't define who you are now. Once we start penalizing speech retroactively, we erode the core of liberty. So yes, when either side resorts to this petty moral policing, they both merit the same backlash, because censorship isn't justice, it's cowardice.
Colleges pride themselves on being safe spaces, not for professors. At least not any who might want to stretch young minds to think differently and try on new ideas. Yeah, try that at your peril. Same with comedy clubs, where ever since the iPhone, comics have been complaining about snitches in the audience who'll rat them out for crossing the line, which is practically the job description of a comedian.
Comedy isn't safe anymore. Not even close. The far left has made it their mission to monitor every punchline, every casual remark, and every joke that doesn't fit their constantly shifting rulebook. Say something that offends one of their favored groups, and you're finished. They'll clip the joke, strip it of context, and post it online for public shaming faster than you can say, "Cancelled." They've gone after nearly every major comedian, even Kevin Hart, who lost his Oscar hosting job over old jokes he'd already addressed and apologized for. It's insanity. Comedy, once a space that brought people together through laughter, is now treated like a crime scene. The result: a generation of comedians too afraid to be funny and an audience too sensitive to laugh.
Comics are joking constantly. Even some people who aren't comics do that. And if you're lucky enough in life to be around people like that, I'm sure you know, they can't all be gems. Sometimes you get the twisties, and the joke doesn't land just right. Exposing that doesn't make you noble.
Maher fires back at the far left with a harsh dose of reality. He reminds them that true courage and real virtue come from preventing harm, not from scrolling through someone's decade-old tweets just to score a cheap moral win. Maher draws a clear line. There's a difference between protecting people and persecuting them. The cancel crowd loves to act like they're fighting evil, but what they're really doing is hunting down flawed human beings. What they call accountability is nothing more than public humiliation disguised as morality. And Maher doesn't hesitate to say it. It's shameful, petty, and downright un-American.